Hey everyone, Aaron here from Rudy Visuals. Hope you're all having an awesome week. In today's video, we are reviewing this. This is the Tamron 17-28mm f2.8 and it's an ultra wide lens for Sony full frame E-mount. And this is a lens that's actually been around for a couple of years now, I think, and makes up part of the Tamron holy trinity of lenses. That is the 17-28 we have here, the 28-75 and the 70-180. So let's talk about why I needed this particular lens, some pros, some cons, and hopefully this will help you decide whether this lens is something that you might want to pick up for yourself. Before we do, if you are new here, I'm Aaron and we are Rudy Visuals and we run a photography and videography business. And in my day-to-day job, I work as a video producer for a university. So if you like the content, hit that subscribe button to see more. So if we rewind a couple of months, essentially I needed an ultra wide lens for video work, mostly as the widest focal length I had available was 24mm. And there were situations where I just kind of needed like a wider perspective. Oftentimes I'm kind of like shooting in small university seminar and practical rooms, you know, small labs. And for Sony E-mount, there's actually quite a lot of options out there. You've got the likes of the Sony 16-35 f2.8 and f4. There's a 12-24 as well. There's also a bunch of primes, but as often is the case with Sony E-mount, most of these options are extremely wallet unfriendly. However, this little guy though is literally only £849. So right off the bat, it is significantly cheaper than all the other zoom lenses, and it's going to give you a lot more versatility than the primes. And as we'll see a little bit later on in this review, this lens it's an absolute gem really. It's a serious bargain for what you get. So let's talk about focal length, because obviously you're able to get like a really super ultra wide focal length of 17mm up to a sort of wide medium-ish of 28mm. So firstly, unlike primes, as I do quite a lot of running and gunning on my shoots, being able to have that versatility is just really important for me personally. But of course, I did get this lens mostly to use at the wider end, and with that 17mm, you're able to capture, you know, just really unique ultra wide perspectives. You can really push things further away. And this is so useful for environmental work, you know, think like architecture, cityscapes, landscapes, real estate, astrophotography. It's great for group shots as well, and it's a super lens for vlogging too as well. Those wider perspectives really help to make your shots also just look more grand and vast and really show off the scale of things like views and buildings. And while wider focal lengths can be a little bit unflattering for portraiture as they can kind of distort facial features and the body, they can actually be used for really creative looking poses. They can actually kind of like elongate the body. And I personally love putting this thing on a gimbal and creating those close to subject perspectives, and you can get pretty close thanks to the minimum focusing distance of 19 centimeters at 17mm. Distortion and image bowing can definitely be a bit of a worry when it comes to like ultra wide lenses. What we don't want is that really kind of ugly fisheye GoPro look, but thankfully the Tamron, working with Sony's cameras like in-body camera corrections, it does a really good job of keeping distortion to a minimum. And if you're not happy with the results still, you can of course further this in Lightroom, for example using lens profile corrections too. Which leads me nicely to the next point, which is the image quality. Now I'm going to just throw some sample images and video on the screen so you can judge for yourself the image quality, and let me know down there in the comment section what you think. But to my eye, you know, for the price, this lens can create really surprisingly good looking images, bearing in mind how much cheaper this is to those other lenses we talked about before. With a wider lens and the types of subjects people typically shoot with them, you know, corner to corner sharpness is really important, and the Tamron 17-28 really didn't disappoint. Really only wide open at f2.8 did I really notice any kind of meaningful difference between the sharpness and contrast in the center of the image compared to the corners. And to be honest, if you are shooting like landscape, for example, most of you would be stepping down anyway to f.5 to sort of f8 territory, where this lens just really nails the corner to corner sharpness. There is a little bit of vignetting in the corners, especially wide open, but honestly nothing overly distracting. That also can't just be fixed in post anyway. I also didn't really notice any major issues with things like chromatic aberrations and color fringing. The lens does have some kind of optical design that supposedly helps keep all of those things to a minimum, as well as coating, which kind of suppresses things like ghosting and flaring. If we get really nitpicky and pixel peep, my only gripe is that the bokeh to my eye doesn't look all that smooth. If we zoom right into these bokeh balls here, you'll see that it does this kind of weird thing where you get these circles within circles that might bother you, but honestly, it's probably something that your viewer or client is not even really going to pick up on. The f2.8 max aperture is always a welcome addition as well for those low light situations nonetheless. We all know how great Sonys are in low light, so yeah, there isn't much to say there. Works really, really well. As for the autofocus, well, the 17-28 features Tamron's RXD autofocus motor, which helps deliver quiet and smooth focusing performance for both stills and video. The autofocus was super reliable, worked great with the IAF face detect, and the rack focusing as well is really smooth. And in terms of the build quality, I mean, I just really appreciate the form factor of this lens. I am used to these days carrying much larger and heavier lenses, so this 17-28 is it's like a day off for me. It's really small, really compact. Is it comparable in build quality to something like Sony FE glass? No, it does feel cheaper. It doesn't feel like a premium lens, but you know, it's not trying to be. It's a get the job done kind of lens. Now, I don't actually have something like a Sony 16-35 or 12-24 to compare this to, but I have seen lots of comparison videos with the f2.8s and f4s compared to the Tamron, and you know, sure, those lenses might be optically sharper if you're really pixel peeping. They might focus a slight fraction faster and, you know, be on the higher end in terms of build quality. But did I mention this lens is cheaper, like significantly cheaper? I mean, you're talking about such a significant saving for a product that is literally like, it's almost as good. That's still gonna get the job done. No one's gonna be commenting on your post like, oh, this would be sharper corner to corner if it was shot on the Sony FE 16-35 f2.8. I think it's kind of a no-brainer for me. You know, even if I had the budget, I think I'd still opt for the Tamron because I know this lens is good enough for me. It provides really good image quality relative to its price. It comes in this great form factor. It's simple and easy to use. It's versatile. It's really hard not to recommend this lens, honestly. The Tamron, it definitely won't disappoint, especially for the price. Right, so anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. If you have any questions or queries about this lens, then do leave them in the comment section below and we'll try to get back to you. If you're interested in buying this lens for yourself, there will be links in the description box below. Use our affiliate link if you wanna help us out a little bit. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff, and you can also follow us on socials. And I guess I'll see you on the next time. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.